Joining us now is J Miles Coleman. He's the associate editor at the Center for, The Center for Politics at Sabato's Crystal Ball. No relation, as the joke that we always make here. Miles is here to join us. He's going to talk to us about these upcoming elections. Let's go and put this up there on the screen. We've got a lot for him to go ahead and break down for us. Places to watch in Kentucky, Mississippi, Virginia, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Miles, we talked a little bit about Virginia yesterday, so why don't we start with Kentucky, which arguably is one of the more important races in the country. We've got a gubernatorial race there going on. Give us a lay of the land, the polls, where things are, and what we think may happen.
Yeah, so in Kentucky, it's an interesting situation because usually in national polls, Governor Andy Beshear ranks as the most popular Democratic governor anywhere. But basically why this race is so close, because it's Kentucky. This is a state that normally goes to the Republicans. Governor Beshear is probably a uniquely strong Democrat. He comes from a very big political family there. His father was the governor about 10 years ago. It seems like he's done everything right. Daniel Cameron, who's the Attorney General, is known as a protege of Mitch McConnell. He's really tried to nationalize the race, basically trying to tie. You basically say, you may think Andy Beshear is a different type of Democrat, but he's really no different than Joe Biden. Usually our sense of this race is there were some polls out earlier where Beshear was up fairly comfortably. It seems like Cameron has closed that gap a bit. Now, part of that could be just Republicans are coming home to the Republican. But my sense is Beshear probably pulls this out by maybe 2 or 3 points.
Gotcha. And so if Cameron's trying to nationalize things, what are some of the more local issues that Beshear is trying to put front and center?
Yeah, so since Beshear has been the governor, he was elected 4 years ago, Kentucky has gone through a lot of natural disasters. He's always talked about that. There were some out in western Kentucky. There were some tornadoes out in eastern Kentucky. They had some record of flooding. He always makes a point to go to those places because, really for Democrats in a lot of these red states, just going there, out to these rural areas is half of the battle.
Right.
So he talks about one of the things his father did when he was governor was Medicaid expansion. That's something he talks about. Okay, we need to kind of keep this going. We don't want to elect someone who's going to take us back to basically to undo all this stuff.
So, Miles, why don't we talk a little bit about Mississippi then? That was another gubernatorial race. Tate Reeves, usually this wouldn't really be a question, but out in the aftermath of scandal, maybe it is. Give us a sense of what's going on there.
Yeah, so Mississippi, you would expect, yes, the Republican to be in a pretty strong position there. But Governor Tate Reeves 4 years ago only won by 4 or 5 points. He has a very, as Trump would say, he has a very high energy challenger in a Democrat named Brandon Presley. He is a distant relative of Elvis. So one thing I'm watching is, okay, well, does the Presley name have any sort of value in Mississippi? But that's we were just talking about Medicaid expansion in the context of Kentucky. That's something Presley is running on. More of a local type issue because Mississippi is one of the states that still hasn't expanded it. So that is something that Presley is trying to latch on to. And there have been some scandals that Reeves has been tied to. There was this very big welfare scandal involving Brett Favre. So that's my sense for that race is, so in Mississippi, they have this new system where they have runoffs, kind of like Georgia. And Mississippi is a state because it's about 40% black by composition. Now, if you're a Democrat, you can probably get to 40 maybe 45% of the vote pretty easily. But getting much past that is very hard because white voters are just so Republican there. So that's going to be Presley's challenge.
Gotcha. Now, in Ohio, and of course, all of these races, what's been hanging over the political landscape is the reversal of Roe v. Wade, and the Dobbs decision from the Supreme Court seems to have really juiced Democratic turnout in a lot of races. And in Ohio, you actually have an abortion issue on the ballot. Can you break that one down for us, too?
Yeah, so basically this in Ohio basically established a constitutional right to abortion. As your viewers may well remember, earlier this year there was sort of a test run for this referendum. Republicans tried to raise the threshold for these ballot measures to be accepted in anticipation for this abortion rights referendum. And one of the things I've been kind of tracking over the last year or so is since Roe was overturned last year, there have been 8 referendums concerning abortion rights, and the pro-abortion rights side has won in all 8 of those cases.
Wow.
And the states ranging from as red as Kentucky and Montana to states as blue as Vermont and California. One thing I'd be interested in watching is it gets a little down into the weeds, but oftentimes on these referendums, if you're a voter, it's oftentimes easier just to vote no on whatever the politicians are proposing. Back in the early referendum in Ohio, the pro-abortion side was no. And basically, no, we don't want to raise up the threshold to pass these referendums. This time, it's a little flip. The pro-abortion rights side is yes. So small, but something I'm looking at. It seems like the consensus is it's on track to pass. Although one thing I will note, it seems like the Republican governor of Ohio, Mike DeWine, is fairly popular. He's made me a good messenger for the anti-abortion rights side, just because of the popular statewide Republican.
So my question, Miles, for you is, what are the national indicators that you're looking at? So obviously Ohio is going to be one. What are some other margins and other things that could tell us a little bit about what to expect in the next election a year from now?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because none of these states are really in question next year. I have no question Biden is probably going to carry the state of Virginia next year. He's probably going to lose, Kentucky, Ohio, Mississippi. But I would look at, if Democrats, say in Virginia, hold up well in some of these districts in the higher income suburbs. Probably the textbook example of that in Virginia is Senate District 31, which is up in Loudoun County. That's had something like $1 million, something like $11 million spent for a legislative seat. And think of types of voters who Democrats have gained since the Trump era. It's basically Senate District 31. So if this is an area where Democrats hold up well, that may be a good sign for them going into 2020, 24. Sort of on the flip side of that, one of the things that Democrats still have to work on a bit is minority turnout. In Virginia, we have a number of legislative seats that have high minority populations but are still competitive. Now, if Republicans win most of those, that may be a sign that Democrats have more work to do on that front. Now, usually these trends don't happen in isolation. So if Democrats are still having trouble next year with minority turnout in Virginia, it may not matter. But if they're having those same problems in Georgia and North Carolina, states where it may matter, that would be key.
All right. Well, we've got our marching orders, things to look for this evening, and I'm sure we'll all be following you on Twitter as well as the results come in. Miles, it's always so great to see you. Thank you for helping break all of this down for us.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it. We have a great Counterpoint show for you all tomorrow. Thursday, we got a great guest I think some of you are going to be enjoying. It will come after the GOP debate. We'll have breaking coverage on that and everything that's going on in Israel. Otherwise, we will see you all then.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.